Oh, very good.
Beautiful.
So, Eleanor, I believe you're going to start off by just
Yes,
a little bit of an introduction about biospheres, because that's
I
important.
I am indeed, Dean. Just for today, just because we're starting off the series, I'm just going to give a quick presentation. It's very short, I promise, and then we'll get into the more interesting stuff on the insects. So I'm going to give you a quick introduction to what biosphere reserves are. So myself and Dean both work in biosphere reserves. So they are designated by UNESCO, which is UNESCO. We'll talk about that a bit later. I don't want to give the game away. So what are biosphere reserves? Now there is a link at the bottom here that you can go. There are some videos on YouTube that give a longer explanation, but basically biosphere reserves always center around nature conservation because it's so important for all of us humans to live in a healthy environment. But it's not just about the nature. It's also about the people that work in the areas, the businesses that exist there, that do all their places where you do your shopping, where you go to stay on your holidays, all those kind of businesses as well. And then the way that we use the outdoor space for recreation. So there's examples of hiking and fishing and how that helps local communities as well. So we like to say a biosphere reserve is a place where nature and culture connect because it's about the interaction between those places in a way that has a positive impact on the environment and keeps it all nice and healthy. Now, I said it's a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. Now, UNESCO stands for the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, which is quite a mouthful. There's not a test at the end, but it's good for you to know that there's a whole program behind it. And their line on their website says they're building peace through international cooperation in education, sciences, and culture. And those three headings really cover kind of what a biosphere reserve is looking at: education, sciences, and culture. So a biosphere reserve has 3 zones. So these is like, imagine this is a map. So in Dublin Bay, the core zone is out on the coast where they have some important areas for breeding birds. And the transition zone is then around Dublin City. And in Kerry, in the core zone, we have Killarney National Park, which is a really important spot for oak trees and the lakes that you can see behind me here in my background. And then in the transition areas, which is that light blue area around the outside, you see a lot of more human activity, and that's where a lot of our education and sustainable development take place. So in Dean's case, part of Dublin City is actually in his biosphere reserve. And in
With
Kerry,
300,000 people living within our biosphere. So, yeah.
huge population there. In Kerry, we have just over 25,000, so it's much smaller population, but we have towns like Killarney, Beaufort, and Kilcummin inside the Biosphere Reserve. So globally, there are over 700 biosphere reserves. They're found all over the world, but in Ireland, we only have 2. So we have Dublin Bay over in the east, and we have Kerry down here in the southwest. So where is the Dublin Bay? Can anyone guess? Approximately here. Now, Dean will be able to tell you a little bit more about that later, but here's a map that gives you an idea of the area that it covers. So you can see there's a lot of human activity, but there's also a lot of important places for nature and wildlife, just like there is in the Kerry Biosphere Reserve. So does anyone know where the Kerry Biosphere Reserve is? It is approximately here, right in the center around the McGillicuddy Reeks and the lakes of Killarney. Now in this map, you can see the core, the buffer, and the transition zone of the Biosphere Reserve. So we're actually a mountain Biosphere Reserve. We don't touch the coast at all, but we do have lots of fresh water in our Biosphere Reserve. So again, places that are important for people and business, but also very important for nature and wildlife. So now I'm going to stop sharing, and Dean is going to say a little bit about the Dublin Bay Biosphere.
Well, actually, I'm not going to be taking up any more of Nessa's presentation, so I'm not going to say too much. What I'm going to say is we have a website with huge amounts of information about the Dublin Bay Biosphere, and a quick Google search for Dublin Bay Biosphere will bring that up for you. We've got a competition that's on our website about art. We have an art competition. We want people to share their passion for our biosphere and send us images of what they think our biosphere is about. So you can learn about that on a new section on our website. And shortly, we're going to be launching a story writing competition. Now, we know children learn differently. They have different ways of learning and different ways that they like to learn. So we're trying to cater for all those needs. So again, check out our website. The writing competition is going to be launched in early May. But I just wanted to share that with you. And Nessa, you're going to tell us all about insects using the 5 senses over a 5 session program. Is that right?
That's exactly right.
And what is it today?
Today is the sense of sight. So we'll be looking at how insects see, how we see insects, and how they use visuals to communicate as well.
Fantastic.
So I'll get started, shall I?
Yeah, go for it.
I'll just share my slides here. Oh, and I have it open on the wrong slide, so ignore that for a second. Didn't see anything. So yeah, we're over the next 6 weeks. There's a gap in the middle. We'll have 5 webinars exploring insects through the 5 different senses, and that's partly just because exploring nature with all of our senses is the best way to get to know it, and it's really good for us as well as the insects that we might record, and also because it ties in with Dean's Biosphere Award, which one of the criteria for that is to explore nature through the senses. So we'll get started on sight. Now, I'll just introduce myself a little bit. I'm a creative entomologist. So that means my mission is to reintroduce humans to their natural habitat through colorful encounters with insects. And that involves school visits with the Heritage in Schools scheme, workshops and outings, and doing insect surveys to inform conservation management plans, and also making art all about flora and fauna. So that's a picture of a queen honeybee that I painted at the bottom there. And that's me sifting through river silt for water beetles. And at the top there, you can see a ground beetle under the microscope. Sometimes you have to look very, very closely at insects to be able to find out which species they are. So this is how insects see the world. Often when you see insects in a movie or a program, they have these compound eyes, so they're excuse me, made up of lots of little lenses, and we like to think that they see lots of little images of the world around them, but it's actually more like this in the middle, kind of a pixelated, blurry version of what we see. And they also they can see different colors from us. So most insects can only see green, yellow, blue, and ultraviolet. They can't see red, actually. And so plants use this to their advantage. Where have I put that slide? Here we go. Plants use that to their advantage. So this is a horse chestnut tree. And when the flowers come out at first, they have yellow in the middle. And that guides the bees and other pollinators to the flower so that they'll take the pollen from one flower to the next and fertilize them so they can turn into conkers. But when the flower is pollinated, it actually turns red to tell the bees, or so the bees it doesn't stand out to the bees, so the bees aren't attracted to it anymore, so they're not wasting their energy pollinating flowers that are already pollinated. So a lot of what we'll be looking at today is about those interactions, how insects and plants and us communicate visually. So I'll just pop back to this slide here, because just like humans, not all insects rely on their sight to thrive and go about their daily business. This big beetle on the left here is a type of tiger beetle. So some tiger beetles can run so fast that they actually lose their sense of vision while they're running. So they're really good hunters, so they have those big jaws, and they can go so fast that they can't see while they're running. So they use these long antennae at the front of their heads to stop them from bumping into things. So those will feel things before they end up hitting it with their heads, which would have more of an impact. And they have to stop every few seconds to look for their prey again, to figure out where it is. So the Australian tiger beetle, Cicindeilla hudsoni, that's its name, is the fastest species of tiger beetle. It can sprint at up to 5 miles per hour, covering 120 of its body lengths in a single second. And for comparison, Usain Bolt covers just 5 body lengths per second. So to match the beetle, he'd have to run at 772 kilometers per hour. Not sure why I switched from miles to kilometers there. Sorry about that. So this species of midge up on the other corner of the slide, it lives in caves in southern Croatia, and it's completely sightless. So it's pitch dark in the cave, so obviously it doesn't need to see anything. And so it has stopped using the energy involved in developing eyes. It's evolved to use that energy for some other purpose in its evolution. Although having a look at it here, it's not clear to me what exactly it's using that energy for. It looks a little bit bedraggled, but its scientific name, because it's so rare, it doesn't have a common name, is Troglocladius hajdii. Troglocladius means cave midge, and hajdii refers to the winged underground fairies in Slavic mythology. So us entomologists, when we find new species, we get to give them pretty cool names. So what's up next? So as well as having different ways of seeing the world, insects use visuals to communicate different things to other insects and to predators, or they use visual tricks to hide. So on the left here, what looks like a dead leaf is actually a butterfly in Madagascar. And it's, you'd barely notice if you're standing far away, you'd barely notice it was there at all. It just blends in with the forest. Whereas the other insects on the right there, that top one is the caterpillar of the cinnabar moth. And because it eats ragwort, it's toxic, and it's telling birds that they shouldn't eat it because it's toxic and it doesn't taste good. So those warning colors are quite common in nature, and birds know to stay away from them.
The toxic is poisonous, isn't it? Poisonous.
That's
so
right.
It would harm anything that ate it.
Exactly, yeah. So can you think, if anyone can think of any other insects that use those stripes as warning signals, say as a warning that the insect can sting, or a warning that it tastes bad, and pop those answers in the chat there. And at the bottom, we have the peacock butterfly, who has these fake eyes on its wings to startle away predators, to frighten them away. So we've got frogs, snakes, spiders, lizards, bees, wasps, ladybirds, scorpions, excuse me.
Good answers.
Yeah, these are great. Beetles, yeah, fabulous. So there's really, the monarch butterfly, nice. There are a lot of insects and animals that use those warning colors. And later on, we'll see some who steal those warning colors from other insects, but are actually harmless. Oh, leopards, ants, hornets, brilliant. Poison dart frog, fabulous. So let's see, oops. So today we're going to be, I'm going to give you some tips on how to identify insects based on their visual characteristics, based on what they look like. And there's a few reasons why it's nice to identify and record insects. One, it's very good for you. So you get out in the sunshine, you get some exercise, and being around nature is very calming for your for your body and your mind, except when you have hay fever like I do right now. That's why I'm coughing and sneezing. But apart from that, being around nature is very good for your health. So getting out there and finding cool insects also gives you, searching for them and finding them also gives you a boost of happy brain chemicals. So it's really good for your mood. And if you can identify the insects that you find, you can then submit your records to some recording schemes like the National Biodiversity Data Centre, and then you're helping scientists to protect insects by knowing where they are, how many of them there are, what they need. So all that information built up from people all over the country gives us a better picture of how insects are doing and what they need and what we can do for them, because they're very important. So you don't have to be anywhere special to do this. I did an insect walk in this park that's behind me here just a couple of weeks ago, and we found heaps of different types of insects. So just pop out into the wildest, bushiest place that you can find nearby, and you're bound to find something. So we're going to practice observing and drawing our attention to the visual features of insects, so you can get to know what to look for when you're trying to identify one, like a detective. And after that, we're going to have a go at recording some insects in a video, so you can practice for a recording scheme called the Flying Insect Timed Count, which I'll tell you all about in a bit. So first of all, I'm going to make a complete fool of myself by teaching you a song about the insect's anatomy. And if you are also feeling lively this morning, you can get up and join in, because there are some dance moves as well. So here goes. The melody may be familiar to you. Usually we sing it about the human body, but today it's going to be all about insects. So the insect has three main body sections: the head, the thorax, which is like our chest, and the abdomen, which is like our kind of belly area. It's got 6 legs. Some of them have wings, but not all. And you can get insects with 1 pair of wings or 2 pairs of wings. And they all have antennae as well. These things that we mentioned with the tiger beetle earlier, where it uses them to feel its way around and make sure it doesn't bump into things when it's going at the speed of light. So here it goes. Head, thorax, abdomen, abdomen. Head, thorax, abdomen, abdomen. 6 legs, maybe wings, and a pair of antennae. Head, thorax, abdomen, abdomen. So I'll slow it down a little bit. Head, thorax, abdomen, abdomen. Head, thorax, abdomen, abdomen. 6 legs, maybe wings, and a pair of antennae. Head, thorax, abdomen, abdomen. And then one more time, fast, all together. Head, thorax, abdomen, abdomen. Head, thorax, abdomen, abdomen. 6 legs, maybe wings, and a pair of antennae. Head, thorax, abdomen, abdomen. Excellent. You're great sports. I'm sure some of you got really into it there. So those are the basic features of an insect. Now, obviously, there are other creepy crawlies or bugs or whatever you like to call them that have more legs or have no legs, but insects are the group that I tend to focus on, because I couldn't focus on all of them because there wouldn't be enough time in my whole life. In fact, there won't be enough time in my whole life to study even all of the insects, because they're just so diverse. I have a little look at that drawing guide there, because you're going to need that in a while. We'll be doing a drawing exercise. So you can see the head, thorax, abdomen, the 6 legs, and the antennae. And this is a beetle, so it does have wings usually under these hard wing cases. The hard wing cases are how you identify a beetle. So we are short of time, so I'm actually going to speed through these. But yeah, pop into the chat and let me know which one of the pictures here, these paintings that I've done, which one is the insect? And we've got the right answer. Oh, some right answers. That's right, it's the top right. And can anyone name what kind of insect that is? Yeah, someone has got it, a shield bug. Well done. So we have another one here. Which one of these is not an insect? The clue is in the number of legs. Brilliant. So everyone's got it. The spider on the bottom right is from a different group of invertebrates called the arachnids. So this is what we're going to be doing now. You're going to be detectives, and you're going to draw an insect based on my description of it. So what happened was there was a crime, and the some bees, 2 worker bees came into the Garda station and reported that some honey had been stolen from some of the cells in their hive. And they witnessed the crime. They got a good look at the thief, and they gave a detailed description to the Gardaí. Now the Gardaí need you to do an identikit drawing of the thief so we can find out who it was and catch them. So an identikit is a graphical representation, a drawing basically, of one or more eyewitnesses' memory of a criminal as recorded by an artist. So have your pens and pencils at the ready. Coloring pencils, if you have them, are best. And I want you to place your sheet of paper horizontally, so like a landscape, like this, rather than a portrait. So, and then, oops, I'm going to describe the insect that did the crime. And you can go ahead and draw on your sheet of paper. And once you have some finished drawings, you can send them in to us at the number or the email address on the screen. And at the end of the webinar, Eleanor will put some up on the screen for you to see. So this insect has a round thorax. So that's the middle part of the body. It's quite round. And draw it nice and big now, because we'll be getting into more detail in a moment. And on top of the thorax, you can see the head as kind of a curved, like semicircle. So it's like a curve on top of the thorax. And it has 2 long antennae coming out of the top of its head, and they're kind of feathery. So the antennae are like long, thin feathers. And then the abdomen of the insect, which you can draw below the thorax, is kind of tapered. So that means it's kind of like the nib of a pencil pointing down. Do I have any pencils here? So it's like the bottom of this pen tapered downwards. So these bees could actually only see the back of the thief. And that's because they were, the way honeycomb hangs, it's like this, like 2 combs of honey. And they were on one side and they could just see the back of the other insect. I nearly gave away what it was there. Taking honey from the honeycomb. So you've got your head, your thorax, and your abdomen drawn at this stage, I imagine, and your 2 antennae at the top. This insect has 4 wings, and its upper wings are longer than the bottom wings. So they're long, and they get wider at the end, the top 2 ones. And then beneath those, they have 2 smaller wings, roughly the same shape, but smaller. Now let me know if I'm going too fast. And now we can get into some coloring. Well, actually, first of all, because of the big wings, the bees could only see 4 legs of this insect. So 2 of them were hidden under the wings. The front 2 legs, oh sure, someone just asked me to repeat the shape of the wings. So, okay, so I'll go through what I've described so far. So we've got the round thorax, that's the middle part of the body. We have a semicircular curved head on top of the thorax. The abdomen underneath the thorax is tapered like a pencil, like the point of a pencil pointing downwards. And the antennae are long, thin, and feather-like. Now the the wings are coming out from the sides of the thorax, and the top two are longer than the bottom two. And they start off thin near the body and they get wider towards the ends. Now, don't worry, I should have said at the start, don't worry about this being a good drawing or like a masterpiece. What we just need is a quick sketch so we have an idea of who the criminal might be. And also, because we're talking about visuals and sight today, this is not going to be everyone's favorite activity because we all have different gifts and skills and different ways of learning. And some people are very visual. Some people might be better with sound or music, and we'll be exploring all those other senses in the coming weeks. So don't worry if you don't like this activity, there'll be plenty more. So those wings, the top ones, the long ones, are brown. They're kind of mottled, different shades of black and brown and beige. Different shades of brown, like autumny colors. And the bottom wings are yellow with 2 black stripes on each wing. So they're bright yellow with 2 black stripes. Well, kind of dark brown or black. And on the abdomen, that's the long pencil nib shaped part, there are yellow stripes. So there are 5 thick yellow stripes. And yes, someone's asking, are the front wings brown? And they are. Good question. The stripes are horizontal. So the stripes are going across the abdomen like this. Sure, I'm going to repeat the colors. The front wings, the top wings, are mottled dark brown, light brown, some beige and orange, kind of autumnal colors. Yeah, I'll pop the colors into the chat. So top wings, brown, autumnal shades. Lower wings, yellow with 2 dark brown stripes on each wing. And then we have the yellow stripes, 6 horizontal yellow stripes on the abdomen. And in between those yellow stripes, there are dark brown stripes. There's also a dark brown stripe down the middle of the abdomen. A thick dark brown stripe. And we can see 4 of the insect's legs. The first 2 sticking out over the front wings are kind of thick and fluffy. And then the 2 at the back, sticking out behind the lower wings, are a bit thinner. So if anyone missed those colors, I've put them all into the chat box there, if that's helpful. But I'll read them out again. So the top wings are brown, mottled autumnal colors. The lower wings are yellow with 2 dark brown stripes on each wing. On the abdomen, there are 6 horizontal yellow stripes. And in between the yellow stripes, there's dark brown. And there's a thick dark brown stripe down the middle of the abdomen. Oh, I see what happened. I'll copy and paste. Sorry, I sent them to the wrong people. Now, there you go. Everyone should be able to see them now. And then the coolest part of this insect is that it has a yellow skull-like shape on its thorax. So that round part in the middle of the insect has a skull on it. So you can kind of see the two eyes, the kind of, what would you say, kind of bony cheeks, and then the teeth at the bottom. And that's a yellow skull on a dark brown background. But we don't need to go into too much detail at this point. It's just a quick sketch. Someone's mentioning things in the, someone's guessing already which type of insect it is. I'm not going to say it out loud, but I can say that you are correct. So that's excellent detective work. The skull is facing with the top of the skull towards the head and the bottom of the skull towards the abdomen. We have some other guesses there, but I'm afraid these ones are not correct. But it's they're good guesses based on the color scheme. So I am going to. We're getting loads of guesses. Well, I'll read out the guesses since. So we're saying people are saying wasp, bee, hornet, moth, bumblebee, hoverfly. So considering how stripy it is, these are all excellent guesses. A dragonfly, but all will be revealed in a moment. A whale. I like the whale guess, but I'm not sure which instructions you were following if it turned out as a whale. Oh, someone's got it. Someone has the exact species. I'm very impressed. Another person's got it. Okay, so are we ready to, oh, Dean, hold up your drawing there. Wow. Oh, it's getting a bit disappeared in front of your seal. That looks fabulous. Wow, it looks like a serious insect. So I'm gonna reveal what it is because it sounds like you've maybe made enough progress at this stage. And I hope that you're sending in some pictures to Eleanor so she can put them up at the end. So, drum roll. It is indeed a death's head hawk moth. Well done to all the classes who guessed that. That was brilliant. And this is an extremely rare visitor to Ireland. There have only been a handful of records. So if you ever find this, then it's a really, really special find, and you should definitely submit your record to the National Biodiversity Data Centre and let me know about it as well. So well done. That's the thief. We've caught the thief now, and we'll get him to return. Well, we probably won't get him to return the honey because death's head hawk moths have to survive on something as well. And that's just how nature works. But what we're going to do next is the flying insect timed count. Now, let me get my notes back. So this is a recording scheme that the National Biodiversity Data Centre are running. We know that pollinating insects are reducing in numbers. We're losing our pollinators, but they want to find out, they want to track the numbers so we can get an idea of you know, how serious the situation is, what flowers are helping them, supporting them, what areas of the country are pollinators more abundant, and kind of looking at different reasons for their abundance or the lack of them. So anything that you can send them in about these insects is really, really helpful. And this is a really handy little activity you can do in just 10 minutes. out in your local park, all you need is a 50 by 50 centimeter, I think, patch of flowers. And you're going to look at these different types of insects. You don't even have to get the exact species, just the different groups of insects. And I'm going to show you a video now, which will give you a more detailed view of how that all works. Because they will explain it much better than I can. And after I show you this video, we're going to get a chance to look at some flowers with insects on them and do a little tally ourselves, do a count. So give me thumbs up if you can hear the sound, or holler at me in the chat if you can't.
There are concerns that the numbers of pollinating insects such as bees and flies are declining, but we need more data to be able to track changes. If you have 10 minutes to spare, you can really help by doing a flower insect timed count, or FIT count. Simply by counting the numbers of insects that land on a small patch of flowers, you can help us to understand changes in the abundance of flower visiting insects. The most useful counts are those that are repeated over time at the same location or close by. You can use different target flowers at different times of year. If you've been taking actions to help pollinators, perhaps by planting more pollinator-friendly flowers over time, doing regular FIT counts will allow you to measure the impact of those actions, as you may see the number of visiting insects increase. Doing a FIT count might be a chance to slow down and take 10 minutes to yourself in nature. Or it might be something that you can do with family, friends, or your class in school. It does force you to stop and notice things. You might be amazed at how much insect diversity you see in 10 minutes, or you might be surprised at how few insects you see. Insect numbers change with season and weather, but it might also be because your area is not very pollinator friendly. If that is the case, there are lots of resources to help you understand how to change that at pollinators.ie. Everyone can help to collect this data through citizen science. You don't need to be an expert. Doing a flower insect timed count is a really easy way to help to contribute to our knowledge of how insect populations are doing. You simply watch a 50 by 50 centimeter patch of flowers for 10 minutes and record how many insects visit. Firstly, you can visit our webpage, pollinators.ie/FitCount, to print off a recording form and read through the guides to help you complete the survey. On your form, you can fill in the background information about the weather and your location and the flower patch you'll be watching. This survey runs from April 1st to September 30th. Wait for a good day. It should be warm and dry. If the sky is clear, less than half cloud, the minimum temperature for a count is 13 degrees Celsius. If the sky is cloudy, half cloud or more, the minimum temperature for a count is 15 degrees Celsius. Make a square measure using twine, tape or cardboard to mark out your 50 by 50 centimeter square. You can do this survey anywhere, for example, your back garden, farm, local park or school. It's helpful if you can choose to focus on one of the survey's target flowers. Buttercup, dandelion, hawthorn, bramble, lavender, hogweed, knapweed, ragwort, white clover, red clover, buddleia, heather, thistle or ivy. But if you can't find any of these flowers, it's fine to choose another flower that is attracting insects. Take a photo of your target flower patch. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Stand close enough to the patch so that you can see the insects landing on the flowers, but don't lean over the top of the patch, as your shadow can deter insects from visiting. Count every insect that lands on one of the flowers of your target species within the 50 by 50 centimetre patch. Try to count each individual insect just once. If a bumblebee goes from flower to flower in your patch, that just counts as one. Count the total number of insects. If you can, put them into the different groups on the recording form. We don't expect you to be an expert, just to do the best you can. It may be the case that no insects visit in the 10 minutes. This is still a valid result and should be submitted. Add your results to the online data submission system. If you can carry out multiple counts, for example, once a month or even once a week, that would be fantastic and will add value to your data. The most useful counts are those that are repeated over time at the same location or very nearby. You can use different target flowers at different times of year. See pollinators.ie/fitcount to take part.
So there you have it, all the information that you need to do your flying insect timed count. Can you send the chart after? Yes, we have. So the chart should be sent out in the teacher's resources that Eleanor will have sent out to you. And right now, if you don't have them printed out, what you can do is just draw a little table on the board with 10 rows. And then that will be enough for you to record the different types of insects. You can just put an initial for each different type of insect. So I'm going to show you, first of all, a few different types of insects. So the different types of insects that you'll need to record, and the different features that will help you to identify them. So here we have different types of bees, and I'm just going to race through these because we are running out of time and we've got a lot of insects to record. I'm going to race through these, but you'll be able to watch this video again on the Biosphere YouTube channel, I believe. Yeah, Eleanor's nodding her head. So, so you'll be able to look at these pictures again and look at the features. So we've got the big, fat, fluffy bumblebees. They bumble, so you'll recognize them from their bumbly fluffiness. We have the honeybees, which are more slender and kind of browner color, slightly smoother, a little less hairy. And both of those, the bumblebees and honeybees, if you can see them carrying pollen, like this one on their back legs, then you can be sure that they are bumblebees or honeybees, because they're the ones that collect pollen to bring it back to their nests. The solitary bees are smaller, a bit narrower. Some of them are quite smooth and don't have hair on them at all. And there are about, I think, 77 species of those. So familiarizing yourself with the different species of those is tricky. But the more you look at the insects, the more your eye will get tuned into what the different groups look like. And next up we have wasps. So you'll be familiar with the common wasp. It has those really bold yellow and black stripes here. Sometimes people get these mixed up with honeybees, but the honeybee is a browner color with less distinct stripes. The common wasp has really distinct yellow and black stripes. And then you've got parasitoid wasps, which are the ones that lay their eggs in other insects. And they're usually kind of quite skinny and almost alien looking, like this unusual orange fellow here. You'll notice with bees and wasps, they have a very narrow point connecting their thorax to their abdomen. So that's how you can think of an ant, the way it has a very round thorax and abdomen. You can see just a really thin connection between the two. They're actually related, bees, wasps, and ants. So other insects like flies, like these hoverflies, have kind of a wider waist, so there isn't as narrow gap in between. But as you can see, Hoverflies are one of the creatures that steal the warning signals, the warning stripes of the wasps and bees, and use them to their advantage. All 4 of these hoverfly species, in fact, all hoverfly species, are completely harmless. They have no sting, but they use these stripes to pretend to predators that they do sting, so they won't eat them. And you can see some of them really look like bees. This one is really fluffy, but they've only got 2 wings, whereas bees and wasps have 4 wings. Can be a little difficult to see, but again, the more you look, the more you'll notice these things. Then you've got other flies. So you might be familiar with the ones that look like house flies and the big black ones. And then some stranger looking things like this guy with this little round head. I'm not even sure what type of fly that is. And then you've got beetles. Remember we said that they have hard wing cases covering their wings. So those are often quite shiny as well. And moths and butterflies have, their Latin name is Lepidoptera, which means tile-winged. So they've got all those little dusty scales and tiles on their wings. So you can see, I mean, if you look at them really closely, you can see they're kind of dusty. And they have these, well, you're familiar with their big, colorful, patterned wings. They've got 4 wings each. So I think you'll recognize those. And then another type of insect that you might see commonly would be the shield bug. The main thing that you confuse that with would be a beetle. Beetles have a straight line down the middle of their back, whereas shield bugs have kind of a crisscross pattern, or other types of bugs related to shield bugs. That's a lot of information, but the main thing is just to go out there and look and start observing, start looking at the differences.
I suppose, Nessa, I mean, if you get confused as to which is which, I mean, the total number will help the scientists understand what's happening.
Absolutely.
So being as accurate isn't as important as actually doing the count.
That's very true. Yeah, observing and counting them, that's the main thing. So I'm going to share the insect count video with you now. And you can have a go at jotting down how many insects you see and which types. Let's see. Now I did a test ran this with my nephew the other day, and he suggested that I run it at half speed to make it easier. So you have him to thank for that. There you go. And there's no sound on this one because we found I had music on it. We found that was really annoying. So it's just silent. You can focus on your insects.
Whilst we're looking at those insects, Nessa, I just want to share with everyone that the Dublin Bay Biosphere has a Biosphere Award that was developed in partnership with Scouting Ireland. And it involves 3 steps. It involves young people getting outside and exploring, being part of nature, enjoying what's around them, discovering what's around them, using all their senses. So this definitely helps, these workshops help. But then also learning about the processes that are going on and how we as people impact on nature, whether it can be positively, i.e. we're planting nice plants to create flowers for insects, or negatively by leaving litter and that sort of thing. But then the third part of the award is taking some kind of action, and some of those actions can be doing citizen science. You can do a citizen science project to help contribute towards learning about biospheres. Or you can take some conservation action, or you can raise awareness of the Dublin Bay Biosphere. So if there's any schools that want to get involved in that, all the information's on our website. And they could have young people earning the Biosphere Award, and it's an absolutely fantastic badge. I don't have one with me. I'm going to go and sneak and get one so I can show everyone.
Yeah, it's true. It's a lovely badge, and it's a lovely way to get to know nature. I can see that some people are needing to go on their breaks, and so just want to thank anyone who has to go so far. Thank you for being here, and I hope we'll see you at the next webinar.
Now, there was a couple of questions, Nessa, so maybe we could take a couple of questions. We had one from Dylan, who's third class in St. Peter's in Clondalkin, and it's not really about insects, but he wants to know why spiders have 8 legs.
That is
why do they have 8 legs?
Good question. Well, it's kind of like, why do we have 2 legs, or why do insects have 6 legs? I think it might just be one of the mysteries of life. I suppose maybe they need extra legs for spinning their webs. Maybe it would be harder to spin a web with only 6 legs.
You have to hold on and move around lots of different ways.
Yeah, you have to maneuver a lot of things, and you have to, like, you may have to spin one thread and swing onto another thread and connect them. So it's just a guess.
Okay, so it's just being able to be handy about doing what they do. That's why they have developed 8 legs. And I suppose it's the same with centipedes and caterpillars. Another question about why do they have so many legs? I mean, it just makes it easier for them to get around, I suppose, and go places. Now, there was a question there, or not a question, a point. Have we got any of the images that we can share? Have you got any of those images, Eleanor? Oh, fantastic. I can't wait to see
Yes, I do. I have so many images coming through.
Oh, wow.
On my phone. It is insane. So I will try and share them now. If that's all right, Nessa, do you have...
What is that?
I've got to try and open them up and see if I can get into them.
Sorry, got interrupted by Bill Bailey there.
No worries.
You wanted to talk about birds or something.
I'm just going to try and share some of the images now. Now, I will not be able to share all of them because there are hundreds and hundreds.
That's really good. My goodness me.
Coming through.
Fabulous.
So these are early on. So before we even got the coloring in, there's some images coming in, which is amazing. Now, I haven't been able to record where all of these have come from, but I can tell you all over Ireland. So
they are better than mine.
Thanks
to everyone for sending them in. So I'm just going to keep flicking through nice and quick so you get an idea. And you can see,
incredible attention to detail.
Amazing, isn't it?
Wow.
Oh, we started getting into some of the
Colours.
colors as well.
And those stripes, well done.
Oh, and someone had a visitor to their classroom right in the middle of it.
Even
In the
better.
middle of the webinar, wonderful.
It wasn't that one that stole the honey. It was the one
It wasn't that bee that stole the honey. Yeah,
it might have been one of the witnesses.
yeah, they're amazing, aren't
Look
they?
at that, that's
That's
incredible.
amazing. How they do so good. We have some really talented artists.
We really do. Look at this one. I love all the notes on this one. This is a scientist drawing a picture right here, making sure that they have their notes as well. That's very clever.
Absolutely. Or maybe a forensic entomologist.
Yeah.
Now, there was a question whilst you're looking at those pictures. I have to get this up. Where is it? Oh my goodness. Why do insects see different colors than us? I mean, what's the advantage?
Seeing the ultraviolet helps them to find the flowers. So pollinating insects would need to get to their flowers. And then I know that there are certain types of scorpions that also can see ultraviolet, and they, like, if you look at one under an ultraviolet light, it glows. So maybe that helps them to find each other as well. But yeah, apart from that, I guess they just have different parts in their eyes that pick up different color. Oh, look at the skull.
Oh my gosh.
These are fab. I'm so impressed.
Oh my goodness. I am super.
I see there's also a question, what's the difference between a wasp and a hornet? They're actually very closely related. The hornet is just bigger and just has probably a bit of a different lifestyle. But it's kind of the same as, the hornet's bigger, and the patterns on them will look different as well. But they are related.
We've a question from Owen Jennings about biospheres, and he asks, are there only 2 biospheres in Ireland? And there are only 2. But hopefully there may be more on the horizon. I mean, I heard a little whisper that there may be a couple of other biospheres coming online in the next few years. There's certainly talk in Mayo about having a Mayo dark skies biosphere, which would be interesting. And there was also talk about Ross Cray. So who knows? Maybe there'll be more in the near future. Be amazing if there was.
Hope so. Yeah, we hope so. There are so many pictures. I don't think I've even got
No.
through all of the messages yet. So apologies if anyone hasn't seen their picture, but there's
Oh,
a whole
look at
classroom
that, a whole
here.
classroom.
Oh my goodness, they are so
How fun.
good.
Yeah.
Is it true that flies have hundreds of eyes?
I think that maybe it's probably hundreds of lenses on their compound eyes.
Got it.
So yeah.
So they still maybe only have two eyes, but they have lots of lenses. That's what they
Exactly.
see.
Yeah.
Look at this.
And so I see people are coming in with the results of their insect count. I think that there are 20 insects. So you've got I'm gonna read that again just in case I have it wrong. But let me see, I'll put up I'll have, sorry, there's too many things going on. There's too many moths flying around.
You're gonna have to watch. You're gonna have to watch all these pictures, I think.
I think that's all I have managed to download so
Okay.
far.
Okay.
So I'll stop the share on the pictures and we can get back to the insect count and see.
Eleanor, if
Yeah,
it's
very
not too much trouble, could I ask a favour? Would you be able to maybe email me a few so that I can share them on social media and put on our
Yes,
website? Because I think it'd be
definitely.
great to show some of those pictures on our website.
What I might
Sure.
do is I'll put them into a big folder and try and transfer it over to you that way and see how many I can get.
Brilliant.
So my last count of the insects in the video came to 20. You can see the results there of the different types of insects that came up. But I could be wrong. You guys may be more observant than me. You may have spotted a few insects in the background that I didn't notice. So yeah, just keep looking, keep observing and counting.
And it's quite cloudy in Dublin today, so it would need to be 15 degrees, and I think it's a little bit under 15 degrees. So there's no point doing a count today because the
True.
insects won't be out and about. Is that right?
That would be correct. Yeah, there will be some insects around, but if you want to do the scientific count and submit your records, you'll need to wait till it's 15 degrees.
Oh, so it's still worth having a practice anyway.
There'll
might
still
not
be
see as
things
many.
around. Yeah,
Oh,
just have a look for fun. Yeah, bumblebees especially, because they're so furry, they can come out in colder weather, and they're very as soon as it's even slightly warm enough, they'll be out there bumbling around.
Okay, now before we sign off, because I mean I think we're at time, and
Yeah,
a lot of people are
we're
just
at
going off for
11,
break.
so I better go. Everyone will be heading on their break.
Yeah, if we were going to give all the schools, because they can watch this back, that's fine. This is being recorded; they can watch it back. If we were to give them maybe 2 or 3 tips for helping insects, because we care about wildlife, what would you suggest that they could do?
I would suggest that they let their schoolyards go wild. So
Not the pupils, just the schoolyards.
well, reintroducing humans to their natural habitat. But yeah, basically in some spaces, the less you do, the better. So let things get a bit overgrown. If you want more flowers in your grass in the yard, maybe just cut it once a year. And all of those kind of messy, tussocky, overgrown areas will host a lot more insects. Flowers are good, but you also need the dead leaves, dead wood, scrub, undergrowth for things to hide in and pupate in and hibernate in. So that's my top tip. And then recording insects like this will help us to get a better idea of how to help them overall.
A little pond, would that help? Even if it's a small pond?
Yeah, bringing water into a habitat is really helpful. You could even, if you don't have room for a pond, you could make a hoverfly lagoon. You can look that up. It's just a plastic container with some dead plant matter and water in it, and that will attract the types of hoverflies that have their babies underwater, that have their larvae underwater. And they look really cool. They're called rat-tailed maggots, and they have these long tubes that go up to the surface to get air. Okay. They're fun to look at.
And I believe there's a lot of bees that need patches of bare earth to be able to hibernate in. Is that right?
Yes, more for nesting. So solitary
nesting.
bees
Okay.
would some solitary bees burrow into bare soil. It needs to be in a sunny spot, and they'll burrow in. They'll fill the hole with pollen that they feed to their larvae. They'll lay their egg, seal it up, and off they go. And the larva looks after itself in there. So they'll go around and make holes like that everywhere and lay their eggs.
Okay, so bare patches of ground in a sunny site is not a bad thing for our bees.
Yeah, especially kind of a bank with bare soil. Okay. You might find some of those like around under hedgerows. I saw a few in Roscommon the other day.
Fantastic. Well, I think we are out of time, sadly. But thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you for all the images that you shared. When is the next webinar?
I believe it's the 10th of May.
10th of May.
It is the 10th of May.
Yes,
okay,
and we'll be exploring insects through sound. So you'll actually get to find out what sound the death's head hawk moth makes.
Interesting, fantastic. Nessa, Eleanor, thank you so much. Appreciate all that. That's really interesting. And see you on the 10th of May.
Thanks so much, everyone. It's been fun. See you then.
Thanks so much, Nessa. It's been super. I'm still getting pictures, so I'm very excited to look through them all later. If anyone hasn't registered yet for next week's, you can check out either Dean's website at dublinbaybiosphere.ie or the Kerry Biosphere website at kerrybiosphere.ie, and you'll find information there on where to find the links to register your class and come along to next week, the week after, to our next session. So thanks so much. Enjoy your day, and I hope you do get out and explore some nice wild areas and see if you can see some insects.
Good Margaret.
Bye, everyone.